To order, this is a meeting of the Hampden Board of Selectmen, November 2nd, 2020, 6 p.m., being conducted over Zoom in accordance with the regulations promulgated by Governor Baker. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is anyone recording besides us? Seeing no hands raised. First thing is the meeting minutes, the executive session of September 14th, 2020. Mr. Flynn has one correction, and it says the meeting will be conducted remotely. It wasn't. Everyone was present. So we'll just remove that. Anything else there?
Motion to approve.
All in favor? Aye. The regular meeting of October 19th.
It's in the packet. Oh, I will fight it. Very efficient.
Saving money. Saving money.
I had some questions related to
Revised one. Reflected that.
So we record. Okay.
Got it.
Any further corrections?
No. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The regular session meeting of October 26th.
I saw no corrections and didn't submit any.
I don't remember what it is now.
I guess we're just being maybe semantic. I know Don is for it, but
Which will be a blessing.
thank you. Really. Not your people. I thought we made a motion to release the funds for overlay reserve for use by the select board if we wanted to, make that. See the way it says it's used fund release for the improvements. I guess it's the same thing. But I don't think we were,
So specific.
well, we weren't saying, okay, go ahead and do, we wanted to make a motion to use that.
Right. I
Get
think
the
it's
approval of the town meeting.
Yeah.
Let's get money from our meeting and our board.
We decide how to
You
spend it.
recall?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
you're absolutely.
In the correction.
So you want to reword it? You want to leave it like that, or do you want to reword it?
I think we're sort of getting there.
And the only correction I have is that under the dispatch update, a motion was made by Selectman Flynn to have Selectman Davenport, Town Administrator Mark will meet with the counterparts in Wilbraham on Monday. And it was last unanimous.
Right. And it doesn't give a vote, does it?
No,
It's just it looks
Right.
like it's in the conversation. but
right, so
It
it
should
was
be,
voted.
it should be voted, it was voted.
Actually, I think even then, you said Monday may not be the day, but it would be some.
Yeah, maybe Monday's not. Right. Maybe take Monday out, counterparts.
I'm not sure if we even took a vote, because I think we just discussed it, but
We did vote.
the impetus was to take a vote. I mean,
We did vote.
was there a vote?
Pretty sure we voted, yeah. Right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item on the agenda is the pilot agreement with Blue Wave Solar.
There's a copy of it in your packet, and I did print 3 copies if you decide to approve it tonight.
Well, if I may, John, I have a couple of things. Number one, I don't think the figures are accurate that we provided from the assessors. She was working off of the 14,400, and I think it's 10,800 because 0.75.
I was surprised that it's such a small project, just the one that's split.
Yeah, this is,
And I also wanted, we talked about this before, but I really wanted to see what the Wolverhampton pilot was as well. make sure that they're equitable in terms of the
Well,
megawatt.
In her note, she checked with Wilbraham, and their payment is 16,800 per megawatt. And they're saying ours is 15,000 per megawatt, so she was saying that we might want to discuss that, but my concern is that she gives us three options here.
Mhm.
And I think this is a negotiated contract, and it really has to be done in executive session.
Has been in the past.
No.
It's not.
But we need to get the figures changed because they're not right, I don't think. Because if you look at the contract, on section, it's on page, I don't know, just like the third page, section 1, payment in lieu of personal property taxes.
Mhm.
It says that it says for references, the parties stipulate 0.75 megawatts AC capacity of the project is attributable to the property, which is equivalent to an annual pilot payment of $10,800. I think she was working off of $14,400, so we need to verify that.
Okay. I did ask the assessors to review it, and Kelly did and sent it back. So,
So indicating that those figures that are here are correct, or
that
that's what your
they
impression?
agree with the figures.
Well, I think the figures are correct. I just go back to why isn't it the same pilot, although they're going to the escalator in Wolverhampton, I understand that. So if they start out, they're gonna fall below us pretty quickly without the escalator.
Remind John to use a mic.
Now. Nope. That's anyhow, I think we should be focusing on getting the same rate as Wilbraham, although without the escalator, our lower rate is gonna suppress theirs very quickly.
Right.
I mean, we go by, what would they say, they're in the 15s or 16s? It only takes us 5 or 6 years to jump over that, if they have no escalator, which is surprising.
But I still don't think the figures are right. Go to A17. Okay, got that. And she lists three options, right, for us to consider. Says the current proposal has a levelized tax payment of 15,000 per megawatt AC at 0.96 megawatts AC equals $14,400 a year. But that's not what they're saying. They're saying 10,800.
Right, it's less than regular.
Right, but they're basing their payment, the payment per megawatt
It's
is
basically the whole thing.
14,400.
Yeah.
And they're,
It hurts nothing to go back to
yeah,
clarity,
just
John.
go
They're
back
not
to
starting
clarity.
up,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
not going live next week.
Right. Go ahead, do that part.
Okay.
I'll send you my, talking about.
Okay.
So I can figure it out. All right. So we'll get next week, okay. Hampden Wilbraham Regional School District request for care funds.
This is the CARES Act application form, and it gives you the list of criteria or items for which you can spend CARES Act funds. Down here, it gives you the school issues for social distancing and public, underneath that, school distance learning, planning and development, including IT, school distance learning, incremental cost of special education services required under individual education plans, and thirdly, school distance learning, food for families that rely on food through the school system. Those are the only three items for which selectmen can allocate coronavirus CARES Act funding.
Yeah, but go back to, Don, it says sanitation, refuse collection, and they're looking to, stock up on wipes, things
PPEs
like
and
that.
those things.
And this is, we're talking, if we say specifically for our town buildings, why isn't it covered? Okay, we're gonna stock up on stuff for Green Meadows, for the, other operations, why wouldn't it be appropriate?
Mhm.
Seems like it should be, if we keep it as sanitation, I mean, they're only asking for PPE, sanitizers,
Yeah,
and
PPE,
disinfectant
yes,
products. Sanitation.
And they're only,
Cleaning and disinfection of public buildings.
yeah.
Quite appropriate. But I think, Bob's got a pretty good sense of the money we're using it against our thing. Maybe he'd have a recommendation of how much we could safely, okay, of X number we're going to be allowed, we're only going to get to here. So there is this gap that potentially we could use for our buildings as well.
okay, so if it's if it's Hampden's money that comes to Hampden, can it only be used in Hampden schools or can it be used in Wilbraham schools? And would they keep a tally of that, or how would you? I can see if you only have one school, if you're not a regional district, obviously you could take care of your own schools. I mean, you'd have to be
That's
sure
what
that.
I'm saying. I think it's
So-
possible. I agree with you. It's possible that if we kick in and Wilbraham kicks in, we can, between the two of us, take care of the buildings that we're responsible for. Again, the fact that we're saying cleaning and disinfection of public buildings. Well, they have to be our public buildings. But we could certainly kick in for extra stuff to take care of that public building.
Just to give you an update on funds that are available. In the first round, we requested 51,000, and I filed the forms for that last week. You have to do a lot. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved, but anyway, they give you the instruction, which I had to call and ask about to see if I was reading it correctly. They said apply for everything. Apply for all the money that you're entitled to. Put it in an account, and then utilize it between now and December the 30th, not the 31st. And whatever you have left over that you haven't used, give it back. And so I've asked, well,
Okay,
this is unusual for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Usually they make you spend the money first,
and then they reimburse you. Sure.
This is the opposite. So I applied for a total of $350,000. I couldn't go another 100,000. I didn't know where, I didn't really know where I could spend it. You can't spend 350. We're probably going to end up spending legitimately somewhere in the range of 150. So there's monies available depending upon what the board wants to do with it.
I don't think Bob is giving us enough credit for coming up with ways we can spend this.
But it has to fit these categories, otherwise they won't reimburse.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So I guess my bottom line is I think there's an option for us to do something with a little more explanation here.
I think there is. I would just want to be sure that it's appropriate to do. And it's
Yeah.
right, and that it's expended on those areas that we can.
One option, if you want, I could ask I could ask the town administrator to come into a meeting next week and basically explain what Wilbraham is going to be doing with their funding. See if we can get some kind of agreement as to what they're going to spend money on for schools, how it's going to be spent, and then how Hampden might support that.
Well, I don't know if we have to spend his time to do that, except that my concern is if we're 3/4, 1/4 district, okay, that we should put 1/4 of the amount into that expenditure for those supplies, and they should put 3/4 in. That would be what it would seem to me logical if I was auditing you. And I don't want to go around what the law is just because they have more needs that aren't being met. I'm sure they would use it appropriately, and we can always use whatever. But
I think a huge difficulty is going to be, you probably see this, you can say this, but you may not be able to get these things.
right,
I think we're going to see a tremendous shortfall in availability of product. I think if they came back and said, we can probably get our hands on $150,000 worth of cleaning supplies, fine, we'll kick in 1/4 of it.
right. That would be
Which
where I
would
would be
be-
at. Yeah, fine.
We're not looking to inventory every wipe you use or something like
Right,
that.
right. Just a general big figure.
I think
This
we're seeing the same thing at work. It's difficult to get these things.
Yeah.
So do you want me to inform them that Hampden will spend 1/4 of whatever amount.
Sure, that's
They-
fair.
they
I think that's fair.
decide.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. There is, you did see the letter in your packet from their business manager.
Yeah.
We should probably have a vote on that.
So I move that we relay to Wilbraham our endorsement of CARES fund, of funding CARES funds at the ratio of 1/4 to Hampden to 3/4 to Wilbraham for whatever their expenditures are.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Uh, Is this working?
Mine seems to be, but I'm not sure
Yeah, I
yours
think
is. Mine I can hear it go.
It's one of those things where if yours is active, I think it tunes this one out. And then if you get active, it's gonna tune that out. It's like a handshake type thing.
No, okay.
You're on.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a regional dispatch update. I sent you some notes on our meeting today. Bob, Mr. Marco, myself, Nick Broad, and the chairman of the Wilbraham Committee met over Zoom today to discuss further the possibility of regionalization with Wilbraham and our options there. And I sent you the notes on that. Bob can add to this. We initially all agreed that we're trying to be seeking a transparent and open, equitable process that would provide information needed for the respective boards to make an informed decision for each town. And basically what we did is we reviewed each section of the edited version of the Ayer-Shirley agreement in order that way to raise questions or concerns or clarify or bring up any other topic that may have been concerned to anyone. The first thing was under the term of agreements. I had suggested a 5-year agreement based on the state 911 incentive program, which we would get reimbursed 3 years to 100%, and then 4th year 50%, and 5 years 25%. Under withdrawal or termination, we thought that it would be wise to have a date by which notification of withdrawal be given, which would coincide with the budget. So if either town wanted to withdraw from the agreement, they would have to let the other town know a year in advance on June 30th or July 1st, so they could plan budget-wise there. And then we talked a little bit about responsibilities that Wilbraham would have. And the question raised was notification of the DPW. And so we need to determine from our end how the Hampden DPW is notified of emergencies now. I think it's probably through the dispatch center. The tree is down, blocking the road, and when that's not, the police must notify their dispatcher, they must notify the DPW. So we just have to check into that. Monitoring the activity of all police, fire, EMS, and DPW vehicles. I don't know if we have GPS on all
We
of
do.
them. We don't.
And I have proof of that. The chief asked me today if they could use CARES Act money to replace
So they could.
some of the laptops, the small laptops that they have in the cars.
All right. Then we talked a little bit about monitor and receiving mutual aid, and we needed to clarify which each town had mutual aid agreements with each town, and we would get that on those agreements, if we went down this road.
They asked about Summers.
They asked about summer specifically. And I'm not sure if we have or not, but I told them yes. Probably was wrong.
They asked a question, you gave an answer.
Advisory, so then we had the part about the advisory board. And I had copied a part from the Phillips and Templeton agreement that had an advisory board with the chiefs of police, the fire chiefs, and that they would advise on procedures and protocols on the budget and on expenditure of the funds that you get from the state, how the grants would be paid. And they felt that was too unwieldy, and they would like a cleaner model and have it handled directly, if I'm correct, by the two boards of selectmen, that they would handle the budget and the funding of the reimbursement from the state.
Right.
The boards of selectmen would do that directly on the budget issues. Under union negotiations, I had again copied from another town, and they had said that each town would sit down in negotiation. The thing that they pointed out with that is that they don't negotiate separately with the dispatchers. It's one union for all their municipal employees, the clerks, the librarians, the dispatchers, the DPW people are all under one agreement. And they just thought, I don't know if you want to be involved in all that type of thing. So that's something we have to think about. The conflict and dispute resolution part, everyone was interested in more standard contract language that would need to be developed by the town councils. And then, of course, it was the money part. And there were basically talking about three options: a flat yearly rate, and we made no offer what that would be; an assessment or an assessment based on the percentage population or percentage of 911 calls, or some combination thereof. And or a set amount for year one, then adjusted yearly by some index such as, Proposition 2.5. They said by consumer price index, but I don't know if we're interested in that at all. So, and then Mr. Markle was to check with the fiber optic, to stay with the fiber optic, whether they would pay for that. Mr. Brault was to check on the transfer of the CAD, because they didn't want to transfer the CAD over here. And Bob had raised the question, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Well, it was more like not in the first year.
Yeah, right now, it would save us additional
$7,000 a year.
if we did that. And so the only thing we agreed on is that we would bring this information to our respective boards this evening, and we would report back with them if they wanted to proceed, or if there's any other questions, any of the board members of either board have.
The union thing, having an ex officio member sit in on dispatch only is pretty clean to me. I don't know if we really want to be concerned with negotiating the library staff and things like that, but we want to be involved in reviewing.
We did talk a little bit about that. They talked about what they normally do is that in the beginning, when negotiations start, they have all the department heads, and they said, you can be included in this. Go in and say, this is what we want in the contract, this is what we don't want in the contract. And then they would negotiate from there. Now, I don't know if the town administrator negotiates, or they do like we used to do years ago on the school committee. We had the lawyer, Cooley do it. So I don't know if that's the way they have to do. So we get check into that. So that's where we are on that.
The one other item there, Don, was that you had suggested that we include an annual deadline for notice that the town was going to withdraw.
Oh, yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, I think we said something.
And I also asked about if we do this, we would have to have a date certain by what the assessment would be, or how much we would pay, so that we could be prepared for it. Way in advance, that we could discuss that. But there was we had made no talk about dollar figures or anything else. I did bring up two, though. I did think later on, and I have to bring up with them, is I saw another agreement from some other town, John. This goes to your point. They're going to receive $250,000. If that $250,000 is used to lower their costs, we should be able to share a portion of that cost. Lower our cost if we decide to do anything. That's where it stands with them.
So basically you came up with talking points.
Talking points, yeah, for everybody, right?
My reaction was that I thought when we originally started this, I mean, this has been going on, dispatch has been being discussed for a long time, but when we first got involved, I thought it was to seek a regional agreement. And the way this is structured, and a regional agreement usually, in my experience, has been a separate entity. It has not been a partnership of two groups. It's been like the regional school committee. They run their own schools. We give them money, but they are in control. They run it. like Westcom would be, a regional agreement. This is not that. This is more of a partnership, or a, as they refer to it, I wouldn't refer to it as a partnership, but that's the word that they might use. And I think that, so we have to define what we're really seeking, I think, number one. And number two, all the places that Don has mentioned over the course of this, maybe some of those we should be looking into, whether we should be looking with, I mean, I don't know. There are lots of them. I know there are lots of them. You mentioned hundreds, or not hundreds, but you've mentioned several. And that maybe those are places that would be more regionalized, like Pittsfield is regionalized for that region, or whatever, if that is what we want to do, as opposed to a partnership. So that was one of my concerns. And I think that we've been trying to get something going with Wilbraham for some time without bringing much clarity to it or much progress to it, is my impression. I mean, I like things that are done in a timely fashion and that are completed and a decision is made and then we go on to look for something else or we do something. But I don't get that impression that this is happening with this. So those are my two impressions when I read the email.
They also mentioned that they have behind this a larger agenda, and that they may want to talk to the town of Hampden about having the same public health nurse. When the current health inspector retires, having some kind of joint arrangement for that. I even think that a couple weeks ago they mentioned animal control.
I don't remember the animal control, but I do recall, we talked about, obviously, we have a current situation with Lori, that she serves both towns, and served both towns very well. I think it's prudent to look at something, keep that going, because she also, I believe, does the inspections for the school. So having the same person do that, I don't think it's any kind of expansion of what's been going on for, how long has she been serving?
28 years. I don't know.
Well, for quite a while.
It seems like a long time.
Quite a while. I don't think anybody has any issue with Lori and Poole serving both towns. I don't think that's any kind of expansion at this point. Any other, you talk about animal control. Well, that's been regionalized with Thomas O'Connor pretty much forever. Going back many years down. So pretty much everybody just brings them up there and drops them off. So speak.
Mentioned
Well,
public health nurse too.
I think just in a global sense, all towns, all small towns are faced with the same problem. That they don't have enough work for someone to be full-time. And people look for full-time work or more than 10 hours or whatever, right? And they don't have enough money to pay someone full-time. So everyone is kind of looking for a conservation agent, health agent, public health nurse, all those things are, for a lot of towns, they just, regionalize them. I mean, it just goes back to years ago. They used to have the circuit riders for town administrators.
I would imagine.
And they still have it now for school administrators, for superintendents, that, but they're not really shared, but I come in once a week and I sign the paperwork that has to be signed so that you can continue to function as a school district.
I'm sure there's quite a few inspectors in some towns that are, elected inspectors for town A, town B, town C, and, just do that job, just like you say, because they can't get by on 10 hours of work.
But I continue to be concerned about little decisions turning into big decisions. And I continue to be concerned about the future of our small town and how we maintain our town. Don't, for the sake of money, don't make decisions that in the long run are going to make us become different than we presently are. I know we had this is a whole change of this, a little change of discussion, but we had a Board of Health meeting this morning, and the Board of Health was concerned that with the relationship between Wilbraham and Hampden relative to the MAVEN testing, and whose responsibility was it to do what? And they wanted more clarity to that. And so I have drafted a letter, which I was going to give to you later, but that says what they want to be responsible for, what they feel that is their responsibility, okay? That the Hampden nurse should be responsible for Maven checking for all town residents and all students. Right now, one of 3 or 4 people can be doing it. And then nobody knows who's done it. And then they're all checking, and it just is very confusing.
The Maven testing is
The Maven
You go-
tracing or what I guess
tracing, you go on a website and
Yes.
you see if the
Yes.
person in your
Yes.
town has. So if the person gets tested for COVID, the doctor has to report it to Maven. You go on, you check your town and you say, oh,
we've got to trace
X,
this
Y, and
person,
Z.
we've got to
We gotta
contact
call
them,
this
we got to
person
call
up
all,
and
everybody you,
contact.
everybody you talk to. Well, because there are more people involved in this process, there's a lack of clarity as to whose responsibility it is. And so they wanted to clarify that. So that, and that has nothing to do with this issue, except that it is a sharing of staffing when, so if you're ever going to share staff, I think there has to be clarity of this is my responsibility, this is your responsibility, and you know, that kind of a thing. So I'll share this letter with you and you can see if you think it's, because I think it should come from the board as a, or it could come from me. I don't have a problem having it just come from me, but I did sign it this way, but I can change it, whatever the board feels they want to do with that issue.
So back to the dispatch. So what we'll do is answer some of the questions we have. We'll see what their board says after they talk to their people, and we'll report back to you. And I agree with you, we need to wrap this up pretty soon, one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I really, and I think that we have to decide the direction we're going. You know, I mean, is proceeding with Wilbraham a feasible thing? Or isn't it? And if it is, I mean, whatever the figure, whatever, those are all variables.
Yeah.
I thought the response to your advisory committee doesn't lead me to believe that this would be an equal relationship. Okay, I mean, I didn't. So then why would you proceed any further? I mean, what was going to make you change your mind? What is going to make them change their mind? And I do think the regional idea is a point to be borne out. Is can you have two people become partners or vendor or business person vendor?
Well, this would be, I think there's quite a few two town regional, and they sign intermunicipal agreements.
Yeah.
And then does another board regulate them like they have, like the school committee does for the
No,
region,
no,
or
then
the
they have
two
the-
selectmen do the deciding
Then
of
the
everything?
selectmen do the signing, or they have that advisory board like Poston and
Yeah.
then have, you know.
Well,
Shared services, yeah. All right, anything further on this?
no, not for me.
John?
No, I'd like to see the letter.
Oh, yeah, I want to do the letter now.
I only did one, unfortunately, but you can read it, or you can read it at the end of the meeting. It doesn't have to be done right this minute.
So basically what it says is that the Hampden nurse,
Yeah,
will be responsible for doing Maven for Hampden.
right.
In relation to the school.
For all the residents, she does all the residents in Hampden and the school. No.
That's a full.
No.
This is strictly on school.
It's on the school issue, and the second part is that questions relative to health of Hampden would be directed to the nurse. So that our nurse, so that that's the one person that gets the information. She can filter it to whoever has to have it or do whatever she has to do with that information. It just brings some clarity, we thought,
Yeah.
to the whole situation, okay?
All right.
So that, and do you want it signed by the board, or do you want me to sign it as the chair?
Right, and you brought it to the rest of the board members.
Yeah.
We agree with you. So
Right. I didn't want to do it on my own because I wanted to be sure everybody was on board with that.
Next item we have the agenda is the annual report committee, and this is something that I agree with John with. We should get a group of people together. So I don't know if we want to advertise it or call for volunteers.
Yeah, any volunteers on the Zoom right now that'd like to volunteer for the annual report committee? Nancy? Just anybody in general?
Nancy,
Nancy?
No, I don't think she's there. Is she there?
I'm not sure.
She's
Nancy?
there.
Yeah.
She's not answering. She's there in hiding.
So, again, it's been taking too long lately. I think we all see that. It's important that we,
Well, it seems to me what we have to do is we have to get a person to be in charge of it, and we have to get a timeline. Now, the prime timeline probably exists that I don't know about, but, I mean, we have to know what that is, and then get one person, maybe a journalism major or or a writer or something. And I will work on
The
somebody.
timeline has been there, but the problem is follow through. Again, with the office being as busy as it is, do they have time to be chasing every board? Like, I hate to say it, Don, I mean, our report wasn't very timely last year, was it?
No.
Message from Pam, she'll put something in the paper.
Okay, great, thank you.
Very good, thank you, Pam. All right, the other thing I put on is executive session minutes review process. We had agreed a while back that we would send the executive session minutes to our attorney to look at, to see if, which ones she felt were to be released or not. Most of them can't be, as we know. But I just wanna bring it up to date and do that, because we're required to do it by law.
Right.
So.
We're required to
How
release them,
far
not
back?
to check with the attorney.
Where, huh?
We're required to release them, but not to check with the attorney, right? That
Yeah.
that we just do
We're
because we
supposed-
feel
we're
it's prudent
supposed
to
to
do.
review them.
That's what I thought.
But we would rather have them review them because they would know about the litigation and where it stands, and whether, and plus the privacy issues for some people. You know, we've had a couple of grievance issues and things like that.
And Brandon, you make a good point, because the one we're talking about tonight, technically, we think it's over,
Right.
but can we release it? And a little guidance would be good,
Right.
because it is a personnel thing.
That's the first thing.
When was the last time you did it? How far back are we going to go?
I think last time we did it, we went back to,
17?
17, I think, yeah. So we probably just this year.
I-
Again, even going back to 17, there's many of those that are
It's
still.
yeah. And, you know, some of them, there's health issues that you can't release and things like that, so.
I redid the fire department questionnaire thing, and it's not on the agenda, but I will give you a copy. Nobody gave me any feedback, which led me to believe that this may be my idea, but not necessarily the board's idea. So, which is fine. And the other thing I thought we could do, we don't have to do it this way. And if we do it this way, I'm going to ask the chair to check all my figures to be sure they're accurate. But if we if we want to do it this way, there's one for Bob. I put it on a card and I eliminated the ranking because I thought the ranking was just too complicated and whatever. I put on the backs, John had suggested at the last thing that we give a brief history. I didn't really know what he wanted for a history, so I put what the budgets were for those various years and would be projected, and then a couple of statements about how many people the town protects and how large the area is and how many fire, that we have a dry hydrant, we don't have water. Things people would know probably, but
We have 6 drivers.
oh, we have 6.
We have 5 or 6.
I got this from the town report, so that's probably why it's not.
River.
Right, exactly. So we have 6 dry hydrants. Okay, but I guess the major issue, I don't have to put on at Mill Pond then. They all go to Mill Pond?
No.
Right.
The river, there's one, maybe.
Okay, so Hampden has installed 6 dry hydrants. Okay, I can say that.
I think it's terrific that, you mentioned before, the electric company, when they put the substation in, they added, Phil, was it the 30 or 50,000 gallons at the substation for the fire department use? So that's still there, and they made sure that the connection part was compatible with our trucks.
Oh,
The
good.
one off of Allen Street.
Yeah.
Good partnership.
So you
with
can
the-
tell me that later. I'll write that in. But again, well, the other thing we can do is we can wait till the COVID passes and just have a forum on this without doing this at all. Okay, it's a question of, because it doesn't seem like we're going to be doing any of these renovations or whatever tomorrow. So we could wait, and I always prefer to have a personal, a face-to-face discussion anyways, but I did say I would do this, so I did it.
I will say one thing about the forum, and I think the forum you brought forward for like the transfer station.
Right.
And we really haven't had much, I don't want to say feedback, but certainly no negative feedback
Oh,
on
no.
what's happening at transfer right now.
No.
Whether it's a combination of people are aware, it was well explained, they saw it in the paper, and I think it gives credence to the fact that if this is over, we're going to have an opportunity to do more forums. We'll share with you.
Right.
Now we go back, I think Don, you made the point before. The opportunity is there for you to come and listen. If you don't, we're not walking.
Well, no, I
everybody's
think that
house
that's
and-
right. I think that's true.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do this at all. I can just put it on the back burner and we can
No, no, I like to look over it.
reinvigorate
Yeah,
it at a later date or never use it.
I-
And we can do the forum thing in the spring, not, well,
Like I said,
spring
I
of
think,
22.
I think taking this and making it a full sheet and putting it in the Times score.
Well, I did it as a full sheet, but it came out,
On the back, you can just put a picture.
it
of the
came
fire
out,
outside.
a little less professional, I thought. It was a little more, I'd have to work on it to make it look a little more,
You can see when it's
dressy.
colored.
right.
Red.
Okay, so I'm
gonna
gonna do
send
nothing
out
with
an
it now.
Email that I got from Nancy Siebert
Okay.
suggesting some ways that we could reach out to people that seem to make some sense.
Okay, good.
Anything else to come before the board? Oh, planning board meeting, I attended the planning board meeting, and, we're gonna get a new barber shop in town.
Two.
Two.
There was actually two different barber shops.
Oh, wow.
Have they looked at us at all?
I-
They're gonna- Come on.
Don and I will be undercover.
Nice.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
Don and I actually shared the attendance. I started and he took over. Tag
And,
team.
that was a big issue, and then, a Great Horse was looking to do some, tree removal in back of houses that they own and transplant those trees someplace else. And then there was a discussion about potential use of the Sabaldi's, in the corner there.
Yep.
To, this is very, very, very preliminary, build an assisted living facility there,
Oh,
that group. So, but they're just looking into it, and they kinda want to know what the procedure would be from the planning board, how they would go through that process. Those are the big issues. Right, anything else to come before the board?
One thing, just to be sure, so if you could at the next, put down our schedule, we talked about before that we have.
Okay.
I did email about, are we good with that, have to work off, let's meet with the assessors, we have them in on the 16th.
Mhm.
So we can cover with them, because we need their input. to make
How
it
much-
happen. They tell
okay.
us how much.
How much
we
we
can afford.
okay.
I
And
got,
then we can respond back to back.
I got a report here. Don.
On there, okay. But I mean, if you could put those dates on our agenda, because then we have, I think, the State of the Union on the 15th, 14th of December. The other thing, obviously, these are minor things. I obviously don't think the tree lighting ceremony is happening this year. There is a potential, and Mrs. Claus spoke to me, they'd like to do a drive around town
That'd be nice.
with the fire trucks.
Yeah,
And
They liked that when it was at
When
the
it was
tree
lighting.
lighting. That's what everybody was really impressed with.
I talked to Eddie about it, and it's something that we're gonna make happen. Decorate the trucks, Santa will be on one, maybe Mrs. Claus on the other.
And how did the Halloween thing go at the church?
I thought it went very, very, very full.
It was- I heard it was
They empty
jammed.
every bag I dropped off is now empty, so.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm not sure, who's the chap that took over for Hennessy?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
He's gonna have plenty of business.
Right.
Coming
Exactly.
forward,
Exactly.
All right, town administrator's report.
Okay, the reimbursement documents for rounds 1 and 2 of the CARES Act funding have been submitted. Funding request for the next round of CARES Act funding, which would take us till December the 30th, has been submitted. I did give you a printout of a message from the police chief regarding the new communications system. We have a resignation from John Shea from the Greater Springfield Greater Springfield Senior Services Board. Solar projects, I gave you
I mentioned that a new replacement is there, Mrs. Thomas.
yes.
Yeah.
Was it a replacement?
Ann Thomas?
Right.
Ian Thomas.
There's a printout here of an update on solar projects that the board had, Don had requested. Collins Institute will begin interviewing town employees next week. We have agreed, I believe, that we'll ask the advisory committee to meet with the board on the 7th of December, prior to that meeting on the 14th. The contract with Plymouth has been signed and complete, and they're going to go forward. You've just commented on tree lighting. Eversource has taken over the 863 Columbia Gas customers in Hampden. They called to let us know that. Fish and Wildlife is still actively working. I know they've been on site to do the inspection and to make a decision that will affect the set aside conservation restriction land for the Amoresco project. We have agreed that the tax classification meeting is on November the 16th, and that is in the process of being advertised. Computer updates, we're continuing to basically upgrade our entire technology system here. The treasurer has been upgraded to Windows 10. Principal assessor has a laptop to enable her to work from home with a VPN connection into the server. Action Ambulance has placed a new ambulance into service in Hampden. And we've already answered the question for CARES Act funding for the regional school district. The Ambulance Oversight Committee met on October the 28th. And Bonnie Germini has been hired as administrative assistant to the Conservation Commission.
Any comments?
You had a busy week.
Anything else?
You had a busy week.
Anything else to come before the board?
What tomorrow is voting.
We're gonna,
Move to adjourn regular session and move to begin executive session for the purpose of discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, without return to open session.
Second.
Jonathan, aye.
Johnson, aye. Donald Davenport, aye.
Mary Ellen Glover, aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a safe day tomorrow. Go
Don't
vote.
forget to vote if you haven't.
And even if you have, no. Say that.